Hi and welcome to GameGear TV. There's certainly no shortage of PC gaming peripherals on the market, and many of the products from the big manufacturers seem pretty similar, so it's hard to stand out from the crowd. So the ability to be different is reason enough to have a look at Roccat's Vulcan keyboards. Roccat has three versions of the Vulcan: the 120 Aimo, which has a magnetically detachable wrist rest, the 100 Aimo, which is the same thing without the wrist rest, and the Vulcan 80, which as far as I can tell is only available in Europe and only has a single blue LED color. I got a decent deal on the 100, so that's what I'll be reviewing today. One look at the Vulcan and it already sets itself apart with a slim and refined appearance. The plastic frame is topped with a brushed aluminum plate, which not only adds durability to the design, but adds to its visual appeal. The sleek design is a huge point in my book, but the Vulcan's signature style touch is the exposed switches with floating keycaps placed on top of the aluminum plate. This bold design shows off the per-key RGB illumination in all of its glory and makes for an impressive light show. Besides the aesthetics, the practical implication is this keyboard is very easy to keep clean. With the exception of the blingy lights, the mantra of this keyboard is minimalism. There's no USB pass-through, no dedicated macro keys, and the media controls are limited to a mute button and a choice between volume control or lighting brightness on the volume knob. How does the Vulcan perform? Pretty good. It uses Roccat's Titan switch, which is a tactile switch most similar to a Cherry MX Brown. Roccat lists the actuation point at 1.8 mm and the total travel at 3.6 mm. Using a very scientific coin weight method, I measured the actuation force at 45 grams. The bump is at the top of the press, which lends it an almost hybrid feel as the press is not interrupted halfway. Roccat also claims the design of the switch minimizes wobble. I haven't noticed any particular wobble, but I don't expect a lot on any premium board. For typing, I was in the mid-80s for words per minute, which is about average for me. The sound produced when typing is satisfying, and I think it is a bit louder than other Brown-style switches, and I would attribute this to the physical design of the keyboard with the aluminum plate. The Vulcan works really well for gaming, and I don't really have any complaints about its performance. The Titan switch, being a tactile switch, isn't quite as smooth or as fast as a Cherry MX Red or Speed, but it's plenty fast for me, and I haven't noticed any issues with responsiveness or anything like that. So far, the Vulcan has done pretty good. Until you go to use the software, that is. The Vulcan uses Roccat's Swarm software, which in my experience, and from what I've seen from many other people, is a huge pain to get installed and working. In my case, it took several download and install attempts to get it to install and running properly. Once it is installed, it's fairly functional, but it's a little cumbersome and certainly is not the prettiest or easiest to use software out there. On the first tab of the software, you can apply some gimmicky sound effects to your typing, such as a typewriter or laser beam. I played around with each of these effects and the novelty of them wears off pretty quickly. On the second tab, you can reassign key functions and set up macros. For the most part, the process is straightforward, but it took me quite a while to figure out the process for remapping keys for Roccat's Easy Shift function. Essentially, Easy Shift allows you to press the Easy Shift key, which is caps lock by default, and then press another key such as W and have it perform a different function than simply hitting W would do. By default, the Easy Shift function of W is W, which isn't very useful. Hitting remap only allowed me to remap the key's primary function, and if you delete the Easy Shift function, it tells you to drag and drop. You cannot drag and drop a key from the virtual keyboard on the screen, and there is no drop down for a full list of keys. Ultimately, I discovered I had to drag and drop the assign hotkey function and was then able to change the Easy Shift function. This was a complicated process that should have been as simple as remapping the Easy Shift function, just like the normal function. On the third tab is the illumination settings. By default, the Vulcan uses Roccat's Aimo intelligent lighting system. I actually really enjoy using it. It's like a mix of color shift, wave, and reactive all in one package. If you hold down a key, it has an infection effect of the reactive color, spreading to nearby keys. In addition to Aimo, there's a single direction wave effect, a snaking effect, a zoned fully lit option, heartbeat, breathing, fade, ripple, and custom per key lighting, which I've used to make a poorly recreated American flag. So overall, there is a decent amount of customization buried in the somewhat clunky Swarm interface. In addition to the desktop Swarm app, Roccat has a mobile Swarm app, which is supposed to sync up with the desktop app and give you things like CPU performance. Unfortunately, getting this up and running proved to be even more difficult than getting the desktop app to work. First, the desktop app tells you that you need a secondary module, but doesn't tell you how to install it. After finding a workaround and restarting my PC, it took me several attempts to download and install the thing to get it up and running. After I got the desktop app up, the mobile app couldn't find the desktop to sync up to, and after troubleshooting that for about another half hour, I gave up and decided it wasn't meant to be. From a value perspective, I think the Vulcan is hard pressed. It looks great, but that's really the only thing that it has going for it. There are other keyboards for most of the big players in the same price range, and some have more features such as USB pass-through, expanded media controls, and dedicated macro keys, among other things. I personally really like the Vulcan. I love the exposed switches and the thin design, but the aesthetic may not be to everyone's liking. With the Vulcan being a sleek and minimal offering, I would like to see a 10 keyless version in the future, and I like the Titan switch, but I'd like a linear option as well. The Swarm software, however, is an effort and frustration and lacks the refinement of many other brands. The Vulcan's lack of premium features at a premium pricing is also off-putting. So if you like the unique look of the Vulcan and don't mind the software and have the money to spend, I have no doubt it will serve you well. It will certainly be an eye-catcher for your setup. But if you're just after the most performance and features for the price, you should probably look elsewhere. That wraps it up. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.